Hello, everybody. Welcome to another exciting Survivor Millennium Park postseason interview. Every great season of Survivor needs a player like this, needs a great underdog, somebody who has the odds stacked against him from the start of the game, who claws his way this close to the end and ultimately comes up short. But you love to see someone put their whole heart into the game. This next player, you might think, he's just a challenge guy. He won 3 immunity challenges, almost the majority of them. But there's more to the story. This was a strategic force in the game. I think that if he'd gone up in the merge numbers, we could have seen him do some real damage. But, he still pulled out 3 clutch immunity wins, made it all the way to the final 3, was the final person voted out. I am thrilled to be sitting down to talk to the one, the only, Tony. Tony, welcome to the show.
What's going on, Dylan? Appreciate you having me. Almost pulled off the true tortoise story, but came up one short. So
as a TV producer, obviously the whole point was that a member of the tortoise tribe wins. But you know what? Like, the fact that you went as far as you did, like, what more could you ask for?
Yeah, no, it was great. It was a blast. I'm excited to relive the memories a little bit.
Absolutely. Well, Tony, we've got a ton of questions to get into. We had a lot of fans write into, so instead of saving those for the end, we're going to sort of sprinkle those throughout as they come up. And I know you let me know before this that you've heard some of the other interviews and you've got some things you got to set straight. So if we get to any topics or any episodes that you need to add something in that I don't have a question on, let me know and we can cover anything you want to go over for this.
All right, sounds good. It's mostly just about John saying he beat me in a race, but we'll get some other stuff too.
I actually saw John yesterday and I let him know and he was like, he stands by it that he could beat you in a race.
All I'm saying, this is last, I'll say this, I can tell this for an hour, but we have video footage of us running a race about 20 yards or 40 yards, 20 up, 20 back. I think I beat him by 10 yards. So I don't know. We have the footage. Yeah, you could say he slipped, but I'm clearly slowing down to make the turn. That's part of the race. I don't know.
You know what, Tony? That's what I've tried to tell. I've been telling him for months. So, John, I know you're watching. We've set the record straight on that. So let's jump into it, Tony. Tell me so you're one of the people who played this, who's actually been in a Survivor game before. You talked about on the show you played Survivor Northeastern. How do you think that prepared you for the game? Was there anything that you sort of learned from your experience in Survivor Northeastern that you were looking to sort of adjust this time you played? How did that affect things for you?
Yeah, I think there's a few kind of key lessons that I learned from that, and just playing that game once, even halfway through that game, I was like, okay, I feel like I'm a lot better of a player now than I was at the start. One big thing in Survivor Northeastern, I remember it was a pre-merge vote, the first or second tribal council I went to, and my name got thrown out for the first time, and I freaked out. I panicked. I'm like, guys, we need to vote this person out right now. And then my alliance was yo, calm down. We're not gonna vote him out. So just that kind of sense, especially at this tribal where I knew Sarah was gonna vote for me going into that tribal, and not panicking and guys, we shouldn't vote John, let's vote Sarah out because she's gunning for me, and just kind of chilling and laying low a little bit. I think that was a big thing. And also just the perception of, I knew I would kind of carry going into the game, being fairly athletic looking and tall and kind of sporty-ish. I knew that was gonna carry a lot of weight in people's minds, especially when it did come to the merge. So just having that in my head from the start and knowing that in Survivor Northeastern, that's what people saw me as to a point. Yeah, definitely altered the strategy a little bit.
Remind me, how did you do in Northeastern? You made it pretty close to the end, right?
Yeah, it was 18 people in that season. I came in 5th, so I came pretty close, but it was final 3, so didn't quite make it there.
So let's set the record straight on this. Did you really skip your dad's birthday party for Survivor?
No, so that was, I don't really know. That live probably so going into, I remember talking about this with a few friends right before I went and played, and I'm like, do I tell people I played Survivor Northeastern? Do I tell them I did good? Do I tell them I did bad? Do I say I go to I was looking up some facts about Boston University or these other colleges, because these people are going to know we have a Survivor club. They're all going to be these huge Survivor fans. who's applying for this game on this Facebook that doesn't know it's about Survivor Northeastern, like, oh my gosh, for this big club. And then I think Justin had heard of it and no one else really had any clue what it was. So at that point I was like, I might as well say it. And like, I was, instead of, I think the confessional made the show, but it was just like, yeah, instead of people thinking I got voted out early because I'm like a jerk or like really abrasive or whatever, or like I stink at challenges or something, or like I'm really sneaky, I'll have it be because I'm a family guy. I don't know. And if I can shave a few years off my dad's age while I do that, you know, hey, all the better.
We have a question from Instagram handle Zach is Whack. Zach is Whack wants to know, how was playing Millennium Park different than playing in Survivor Northeastern?
I think the biggest difference was how little comparatively people on Millennium Park, I'd say day 2 was way different, but day 1, sitting in that like little camp and not talking to people, like I was losing my mind. I was like, I need to strategize. Like I gotta talk to people one-on-one. Like I gotta build bonds. I gotta build alliances. And like I'm just sitting in the camp and like I'm like, I don't want to be the first one. Like once someone does it, I'm gonna do it and it'll be fine. And just no one ever did it. And like the pace of the game was just like 0.25 speed for what I've played. Like I've played a few one-day games online too, where just like you gotta move so fast in those games. Like people are throwing names out instantly before you even lose a challenge, all this stuff. And like that was just really slow. And like it took everything like to just be patient, especially we won the first few challenges. Like we're just kind of making small talk for like 2 hours around this camp and like had to be okay with that and just like, all right, this is fine. Like no one's gonna vote me out because I'm not pulling people's side and no one's doing it. Like just gotta chill. So that was the biggest difference, I'd say.
So once we get to the park and the game starts and you see your team, like you said, you guys are spending a lot of time at camp, a lot of time like making small talk with each other. During like that first episode when you guys are at camp, are you starting to make any strong impressions on anybody of your team? Is anybody standing out to you in any way? Is somebody you either want to work with, somebody you want to target, anything like that?
This is kind of a little bit not exactly what you asked, but I've heard you ask other people, so it makes me think of it. Like before we picked teams, I remember going, and the one person I was like, I'm working with this person, I hope they're on my team, was Karen. I'm like, please put Karen on my team. Like, I think it was just awesome that she like played. Like, I thought it was so cool. I'm like, that would just be like the most unlikely like duo. Like, no one would expect that. I was like, oh, she's definitely like awesome, and like she is awesome. But like, I was like, oh, she's definitely super fun and would be a great alliance partner. So that was someone I was bummed I never got to work with her. But I'd say like going into it, I thought it was going to be like all people, like maybe late 20s, early 30s, which like that was a good chunk of it. I was surprised. I was pretty sure I was going to be the youngest. So I was definitely surprised to see Emma there, and definitely was like someone I could relate to a little bit more than people who like have full-time jobs and like kids and all this stuff. So that was definitely, someone I want to work with off the bat. I think that was the main one. And then like first impression, I would say, yeah.
Tell me about your strategy going in. You had a great confessional towards the start of the season about how you want to make friends, then make alliances. What did that mean to you? Like, how are you going to implement that strategy?
So like kind of going back to like what I said about like knowing my perception coming into the game as like, there's always like two sides of the coin to Survivor. Like I'm going in as this like challenge threat, which means like late game get targeted for that. But like, how can I use that? And I know that like early game, that's a valuable person to have around your tribe. And if you're good at challenges and you're nice to everyone and you're fun to be at camp with and you're like seemingly pretty loyal, like you're a pretty choice ally early in the game. So I figured if I kind of like was just like jovial, like having fun, like I think you can you can hear me in the first challenge, especially like hyping up everyone when they're running back and forth. Like I just want to be like the fun guy everyone wants to have around, and like if anyone's going to make an alliance, like I'm one of the first people they want in their alliance. So that was kind of like how I wanted to set myself up.
Got it. So speaking of the first challenge, Tony, I've got to ask, you're a math student.
Yeah.
Why weren't you the puzzle solver?
So they said what that puzzle was. And I was like, okay, yeah, this is a math puzzle. Like I should probably like, this is like what I do like every day. Like I should probably be doing this. But like one of my rule, like so basically this is what like I was thinking when sending the puzzle was like, if I blow it and we lose because I mess up the puzzle, like that type of puzzle specifically, like I'd say was like a little bit more logic-y than math. So I'm like, I think I would have been good at it, but like I don't think I was like when I saw it, I was like, oh, I'm not a lock to be like good at this. So I was like, if I mess up, I might like I'm gonna put a target on my back. And if I do good, I'm gonna have a huge target on my back because I'm both coming off as like physically strong and now I'm doing puzzles too. And it's just gonna be like there's no way I'm ever gonna chase that. Like you saw a little bit later in the season, like I kind of escaped the threat a little bit, like come merge, like oh he's not actually like good at challenges. And I think if I had done good at that puzzle, I don't think I would have been able to escape that. And I'm like, I can just go run 20 yards, come back. I'll look athletic, but like not overpowering, and like that'll be exactly what I want. So I'm glad Sarah pulled it out for us though.
So talk to me about after the first challenge in alliance forms, like one of the first alliances of the game with you, Emma, Andrew, and Gene. Talk to me about that. How did that come to be the group that came together?
So I remember being like very ready for like going around camp and realizing no one's getting like pulled away. I was like very much like there's gonna be a time where like we split and like I need to be like ready for that and like go with a group that I want to work with or like a majority or something. And I remember we go to that challenge and I really had to go to the bathroom. Like I had to go to the bathroom so bad. And they all like two people start going up to the bathroom. I like it was Sarah John who went up to the bathroom. I forget which two of them went first. And I was like, all right, I'm not going to be the third person that goes to the bathroom and leave these four people here to talk. So I'll stay here. And I think the third goes up to the bathroom. And then I'm kind of like, I'll just like stay here. Like I've liked the vibes I've got from these people. I'll like hang around. And then the alliance just kind of formed. It's actually my Survivor Northeastern season. We had our tribe was 6 people. We lost the second challenge. 2 people had to go right after they left. The 4 of us stayed around, and that was became our alliance that like lasted pretty far in the game. And like I still hang out with those 3 people now. So like that was just pretty. It was just like giving me flashbacks. I'm like, okay, this is like very similar to what it was. Like that was a really good alliance. So I'm gonna stay here. And like I was like, all right, someone like say something, come on. And then Emma was like, you guys want to make an alliance? Like, yeah, of course. So that was definitely. And then I remember like just staying there, like I'm like, all right, guys, like I gotta go to the bathroom. Like I'll come right back. And then like went to the bathroom and like tried to like beat them back down so they didn't have time without me there. So it worked out. But yeah, I did really have to go to the bathroom and I held myself back.
Lesson for future Survivor players: you got to hold it sometimes to get that alliance together.
Absolutely.
and was that a crew that you felt good with too, or was it kind of just a matter of like whoever was there is who I'm with?
I mean, some of both. Like I definitely like felt good about all those people. I thought like they were like some of them were talking to people at camp who I had been like interacting with more. I did really like Woo, and I think we'll probably get into it when we go to that round. But like that's one of my regrets from the game is like not being able to work with her. So I mean, I like if she had somehow gotten in there, that would have been cool. But yeah, it was definitely like a group I liked.
Got it. So not to yada yada the pre-merge too much, but anything from episode 2 you can think of you want to touch on? That's the one with the bottle balancing challenge. Anything there?
I kind of blew it in that challenge. The bottle, I tried to throw it up and it was way too heavy and I looked horrible. So that was about it. But I don't remember if there was anything else. No, we can say that. I think that's the next episode actually.
All right, so we get to the third episode. That's the one where you guys lose the blindfold challenge. Talk to me about that round. How did you guys end up deciding to vote John out that round? I think that's something a lot of people were kind of confused by when they saw it.
So I think I don't remember what clip this episode is in, but I don't think like if you weren't me watching this episode, you never would notice it because it's really subtle. But there's a clip of us, we're walking down from like camp or like going to the challenge, and I'm like the second to last person, and John is or I'm second or third to last, and John is at the back, and John like hangs back and is kind of like digging around looking for like an idol presumably, and I'm like you can see me turn around and like stare at him and like note and make sure like I don't turn back around until he like finishes and gets up and starts walking. So that was like something on my mind. I'm like, all right, he's definitely like out here looking for idols and stuff, which is like, I don't know, a little bit sketchy. But yeah, I think they also just asked me like who I think like Emma, Andrew, and Gene were just like, oh, who would you prefer to go? I was like, I don't really care. Like, want to do John? They're like, just because of that one thing that I had seen, and they're like, yeah, sure, and it kind of ran with it. So I don't know. I guess Wu is definitely someone I wanted to keep around. John and Sarah was like could go either way for me personally, and then like seeing him kind of dig around for Idol, and then like I didn't feel like me and him like super. I don't know. I don't want to say like hit it off, but like didn't like have a ton of interaction at camp. So I'm like, I don't know if this is someone like that I can reliably trust will work with me. Because like going, what like now you can say, okay, we're obviously gonna merge, but at that point in the game, I was like, I figured a swap was probably gonna come at some point or something. I'm like, who do I feel better about at a swap, Sarah or John? I was like, I think Sarah would be more likely to stick with me at a swap. So
of course. Yeah. What you touched on this a little bit earlier. What was your reaction to seeing that you got 2 votes at that tribal council?
I definitely knew I was getting 2. Or at least, yeah, I think I knew I was getting 2. I don't think my voting confessional would have been as aggressive if I didn't think John was going to vote for me, because that would look really bad if I had like kind of been a jerk to him and he didn't even vote for me. So I'm almost glad he did, because that would have been tough to have on YouTube.
I loved that voting confessional. It was so good. Sorry, you tell the teacher you just got schooled. Like come on, man. Like that was gonna make the episode. That was gold.
Yeah, I was actually thinking like, oh man, if he doesn't vote for me here and like his kids are gonna watch this, like they are gonna hate me. They probably hate me anyway, but at least he voted for me. So I can say, look, guys, it's even like.
Well, you know that I kept in the one where Andrew afterwards is like, I'm so sorry. Like you're a great guy. Like,
yeah,
so, you know, it balanced out.
Yeah, yeah. So they really like Andrew. I don't know. They really don't like me. But yeah, I kind of in that the challenge too. I definitely I I didn't have a great performance there either. So I'm like, okay. So I figured actually until I watched the episode back, I figured I got those 2 votes because I goofed up in the challenge. And then John has a confessional where he's like, I'm gonna vote Tony out because he's like such a physical threat that I want him out now. Like John called it. Like everyone else is like, Tony sucks at challenges. John was the only one. You gotta give him credit. Like he was like, yeah, he's gonna go on a run if we let him get to tomorrow.
John was the only one that knew.
Yeah.
So you get through that 3rd tribal council, the first one for your team, and you have a great scene with Emma where you sort of point out like Dylan didn't ask for anybody to play an idol. Like what were you thinking at that point? Did you think idols were in the game?
I figured definitely not, based off that. Also, this is another Easter egg for all the fans out there. So correct me if this is wrong, Dylan. This is my impression of it. This might not be correct, but because I was a super like late addition to the cast, right? So I only knew about it like 2 weeks, I think, before.
Yeah.
And apparently, this is what Andrew was saying, like because he knew what that like the challenges were and all this stuff.
Right.
He said he got like this email where there was like this link to your old season, and he watched all the seasons. So like there was idols in that season, and so I never got the link. So I didn't get to watch. I would have probably watched it, but I never got to. So when you didn't say it, I was like, "There's no way." What like, I have this is my question for you actually. Why did you not say it? I'm curious.
Why didn't I say anything about idols? Because I knew that. So at that point, Tom had already found it, but he hadn't told everybody yet. I had hid notes. I had hid clues for you guys telling you that there were idols. And in my mind, I'm like, all right, like if people don't know yet, I don't know that it's my spot to blow up anybody's game. Looking back, you know, that was a game day decision. Like it never occurred to me that you guys wouldn't find the clues and that some of you wouldn't even know that they were there. So that's one of those looking back. That's one of the things I question about my judgment there. Like, should I have still said it? Like, should I not? Like, it obviously ends in spectacular fashion, but like maybe if you guys had known and found the idol, but
so I remember I took the bag. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh no, go ahead.
I took the bag like with the supplies when we were walking to camp, and there was a note on top of it, and I'm like, okay, that's the idol note. Like, it's too obvious though. I'm gonna have to pull it out and read it in front of the whole tribe. And it ended up not being the idol note. It was just like the welcome to the game note. And so that for me was like, okay, that was the note in the bag. There's no way there's 2 notes in the bag, which there was. Me being dumb, didn't look in the bag, but yeah. So that was another.
There was a second note in the bag.
Yeah, and it's funny that scene with me and Emma too. She said in her interview, I think it was just like I'm like, oh yeah, there's no way there's idols. She's like, like just clearly not listening at all. It's like
No clue what you're talking
yeah,
about.
it's like, oh yeah, idols, like definitely not any of those things. She's like, I don't think those things are here. Like,
and of course, like knowing how like the story ends for you two, we're gonna get to this, but like that you try to help her with the fake idol, she gets idled out. Like that, like when I saw that clip of you two, I was like chef's kiss. Like that's what you want for the show. We have a fan question here. Your dad wrote in and he had a couple of questions. His first question here was, how in the world did you lose the beanbag toss challenge?
that was bad. Like we had like a family like cornhole tournament with like 12 teams like over like 2 months before that, and I won like $200. Like I won this whole tournament, and like I play cornhole like all the time, and I was just like, oh man, this I'm like intentionally like kind of save myself to go last. Like I'll be the big hero. Like this will be a great moment of the episode. And then like I go to throw it, and I like feel like I threw it like the normal cornhole distance, which was exactly between the two hula hoops you had set up. Yep. So it was just actually the worst throw of anybody. And like I was just like, oh my god. I have the confessional after, like I'm horrible. Like my performance in those challenges pre-merge probably ended up saving me like come merge, but like after those, I'm like, yeah, that is not yeah, that was bad. But he I knew he was gonna give me crap for that as soon as it happened.
Tony, is there anything? So my next couple of questions kind of jump to the end of the day. Is there anything that you want to touch on from the Sarah boot or the Woo boot?
I think the Sarah boot was super straightforward. There wasn't a ton of like conversation there, so I think don't wanna waste your time. I think that was pretty much like set in stone. The Woova was a little more interesting. I think especially because when the other three went off to go talk or went off to go to the challenge, me and Andrew like had time at camp. And like probably for I think it was Justin and Johnson who stayed back for the other tribe. I've also been rewatching the episodes to be ready for this, so like my freakish memory is not actually that good. Like I swear I'm not weird. I've been watching it back. I watched the episode today. So like for Johnson and Justin, that probably wasn't like that big of a deal because they'd been talking all day. Like for me, I was like, oh my god, like this 15 minutes I get to talk to Andrew is like gold. Like this is where I lock it in. Like and like had more strategic conversation in that like 10-15 minutes than I had the whole rest of the day. And I think if you like had said who do you want to keep in the game more, like Woo or one of Gene or Emma, I probably would have felt better about keeping Woo. But it also kind of plays into like my strategy day two, which we'll get into. And also like I remember saying to Andrew, like there's no way we vote Gene without pissing Emma off, and we merge and we're down in numbers and Emma's telling them all we're snakes, and then we have no chance. So that was my main. I like really like I was hoping we swapped so I could work with Woo like and build a closer like bond there. But I was like, me and Andrew can't go against Gene and Emma without it looking really bad for us.
Of course. During that 50, we only saw a snippet of it in the actual show, that conversation with you and Andrew. Like is that, it seemed to me like that's kind of where you guys got to kind of cement that you were going to become kind of a duo in the game. Do you feel similarly?
Yeah, a lot of the talk at like merge from the other tribe especially was like that Emma and Gene were the big duo. I mean, maybe I'm completely off on this, but I felt like me and Andrew were the duo, and maybe they were less worried about it because Kim was there, and also that was part of the reason I was a little less confident in it, maybe because I thought like he's got Kim on the other side, and like he's not going to prioritize me if that's the choices. She drove him here, like there's no way. But yeah, I definitely felt like going home that day, I was like, Andrew is my number one.
So you guys you lose that fifth challenge. You guys vote out Woo. You go back to camp. We do kind of our wrap up moment with all of you. And Emma has a pitch to you guys. Gene walks away and she's like, well, like, let's say we don't merge. Can we vote out Gene? What was your reaction to that moment? It seemed like you and Andrew were kind of skeptical about that.
Yeah, I was very skeptical. I felt like the closest relationships on the tribe were me and Andrew, Emma and Gene. I felt like me and Emma were pretty close strategically. So those are, I felt like the three were. So I figured it would be a situation if we had to lose again, or I was hoping at least, that it would be like Andrew was going to vote for Gene, Gene was going to vote for Andrew. and Emma was going to kind of prefer to keep Jean, and I was going to prefer to keep Andrew. We were going to have to kind of like make the decision. And then she very quickly threw Jean out there. And I think she like, I think she said this in an interview, like, yeah, whoever walked away first would have been who I threw out, which makes more sense. And I think like my biggest like regret in the game, or not, or maybe my biggest mistake, is my reads on Emma were just horrible. Like every time I had to make a read on Emma, it was like the polar opposite of what the actual truth was. Like everyone else, I felt like I at least like kind of knew like where their head was at all the time, and like had a generally okay pulse on the game. But Emma, nothing. Like she said the first day that she played Survivor for her 16th birthday, and I'm like, oh my god, I didn't do it to like the extent she did, but like I made my like cousins play with me when I turned like 9 or something. So I was like, oh, she's like this huge fan. Like she had a Survivor themed Sweet 16. Like, oh my, she's definitely so into the show and like all this stuff. And so like I thought she was like this big like scheming super fan who was like trying to like convince people she had never watched or like all this stuff, and was very far off. So
she's never seen an episode.
Yeah. I was like, there's no way. If she, the Survivor birthday party, that one comment had me in a loop. But
that's so funny. At the end of day one, what were your thoughts on the other team at that point? Was there anybody who was standing out, either like that's somebody I want to try to pull over to our side, somebody I want to work with, somebody you want to vote out? Anybody from the other tribe stand out?
So definitely, I mean, everyone says this, but Jonton definitely like stood out. Like I remember thinking Emma knew Jonton, and knowing Jean knew Jonton, because it was like going into that water bottle challenge, or like we got to have like someone go up against Jonton who's like not like scared of him or something, because he was doing like the punch. I don't know, like someone who's not scared of getting punched in the nose. So he definitely like stood out as like a little bit of a wild card. And then so I think I have a confessional too, where I'm like, oh, I think it's like our best chance is pulling Kim, because it's like we can convince her it's like an all guys alliance or whatever. But that's what I thought day one. And like, should I get into like what I did between days 1 and day 2?
Yeah, okay. Let's get into it. Yeah.
All right. So I did not think that going into day 2. So basically what happened was, actually I'll tell the story first. We're walking out, we're leaving camp, and like we're all walking back. I forget, do we have like a debrief, like because there was everyone walking back together? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I think in the parking lot we had like a little debrief or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're all walking up this long path, and it's like Emma and Jean go way up ahead together, and like Wu is there, and like I gave Wu a hug. I'm like, so sorry. And Andrew and Wu are talking, and I'm kind of like hanging back, like just trying to look like really sad, and like that I'm alone on my tribe to like, you know, set myself up for day 2. And I'm like lurking back in front of Hara tribe, and I hear them talking about like who they're gonna vote off the next day, and they're like, I think like Emma and Jean are like the duo and stuff, like all this stuff, like blah blah blah. And they're like, well, it doesn't really matter like who we vote off, like we can get them all out anyway, guys, like ha ha ha. And I'm like right in front of them, and I turn around and look at them like, oh hey guys. And then Justin's like, oh, we'll talk tomorrow, Tony, we'll talk tomorrow. So that's why I like have that thing where I'm like, Justin, do you want to talk? Because he had initiated it the day before on the walk back. And that's kind of when I was like, okay, if they really think Emma and Jean are this duo, which it looks like they are based on them being like 50 feet ahead of us, having like what looks like a very deep conversation, probably not about strategy, but maybe they think it is, and more power to me if they do, then like maybe that's the kind of angle I'm pushing tomorrow. And so I go home, and I made plans to hang out with 2 of my friends from actually the alliance I talked about earlier, Survivor Northeastern, that night. So hi Holland and Katie, if you're watching, love you guys. But so I was like, all right, I'll hang out with them Saturday night, and either I'm voted out of the game, and like they've been voted out of games before, so they like can, you know, console me and whatnot, or I'll still be in the game and I can like spitball strategy to them basically. And so I'm like, when I was at camp, I was like, oh, that's a good option. We can pull her over. And in the car, I'm driving home, and I'm kind of thinking about it, like, maybe not. Maybe it's not the best plan. And then I'm talking to them, I'm running through what happened, and I'm like explaining it to them, like, here's what we have to do. We have to pull this person. And like as I'm saying it, I'm like, this does not sound like a good plan. And they're kind of like looking at me like, yeah, she's really gonna hop over and be your fifth. Like, right. Like to be fifth on your side instead of maybe fifth on her side. So like, okay, maybe that's not the best plan. And also my friend Holland, that's when I think on the right before I got in the car, I was gonna drive home. I texted him like, hey, can you bring your fake idol? I think I'm gonna need it tomorrow. So I had him like that was his idol actually that he successfully bluffed in Survivor Northeastern, which ended up in my roommate getting out of the game, which is pretty funny. But so yeah, it had its little nostalgic value as well. So I was like, all right, my strategy changed from that to partly because of that.
That's right, because I was getting confessionals from you all day hinting about the fake idol, and then I was like, Tony, we're saving that till the end. So you guys we get back to the park on day 2. Andrew wins that first immunity, and Andrew sort of calls out in front of everybody like, Gene, Emma, Tony, let's go talk. What was your reaction to that move and to sort of like the conversation being had with the Tortuga Alliance?
Yeah, so I also remember saying this like after like the very end of day 1 when we had a little talk with our tribesmen before. I'm like, guys, we're gonna be down. We're probably gonna merge tomorrow. We're gonna be down 5-4. Like we need to push the pace. Like if we let it get comfortable for them, we have no chance. If we let them go do whatever they want, like we're gonna be screwed. Like we need to be pulling them one-on-one. We need to like all be hitting them from different angles, like, if we want any chance of getting out of this thing. And I was also thinking, like going into day 2, like we need to look like so disjointed and so ununified that they're not worried about like losing the numbers because we're not on the same page, so it's not going to matter. And then Andrew pulls us aside. I'm like, the second he did that, I went from like having a little bit of hope that we all 4 could get through that vote to having no hope and completely going into like self-defense. I got to save my butt mode. Like no, like there's no hope for us anymore in this round. Like I'm just surviving. And so like you, like as you said in other interviews, you can see me like looking away. I'm like, I want to go like save myself. Like we had like 15 minutes and we're spending 5 minutes of it on this meeting where one of us is going home and like they're the ones who decide. So like let's go. Like if I'm gonna go out of this game, I want to at least have tried to like talk with them and connect with them. So I'm like, let's go, guys. Like fine. Like yeah, I won't vote you guys. Like die. And just wanted to like get it moving.
I know that they like psychologists could put that scene of you in the Tortuga tribe like in like a human like body language course, like analyze it. You know, what's a sign that somebody doesn't want to be part of a conversation?
Yeah.
So you finally get out of that conversation, and we see it really only via a montage and like one deleted scene that I posted, but like it cannot be overstated. You hustled for the next like 20-25 minutes working every possible angle you could. Can you tell me about some of the conversations you had with people? I know you had like the conversation with Justin you wanted to have. We saw you talk to Zach. I know at some point you talked to Tom and John. Like what were the relationships you were forming during that?
Yeah, I was running around like a maniac that round, like trying to get as many conversations as I could. And my kind of pitch and my idea going into day 2 was I want to survive till final 7. And at final 7, I think that's the best chance that they break. And if they don't break, like, and they stay with it, maybe I'll win a few immunities. I have my fake idol that hopefully can buy me around, and I'll kind of like cobble my way deep in the game. Like, it's not a great chance, but like, if I can just stay till 7, I think it'll be me and one other person from Tortuga probably. If 2 of them feel like they're on the bottom, we make a move at 7 and we kind of figure it out from there. And like all of a sudden we're at 6. I have a fake idol in my pocket that gets me through 6 or 5. And then if I win 2 challenges, I survive 1 vote, I'm at the end. So it's like, that was kind of my idea. And I was telling people, I remember like, was really trying to play up like I know nobody here. Like I was the 4th wheel on my tribe. Like I was 100% gone next. Like I am such a lone wolf right now. Like all this stuff, which I did not believe at all. Like I really did feel like the closest bond on that tribe strategically was me and Andrew, not Emma and Gene, but they all believed it was Emma and Gene. So I kind of was like, they almost believed it so much that I didn't want to play into it because I knew if I did, it was like, yeah, it's totally Emma and Gene are the biggest duo. They were just going to be like, he's lying. So I kind of like let them think that and didn't want to like push it on them, like because I knew they would think that themselves. And so that was a big part of my strategy. And I felt like I wanted to like get to the people who I felt like had the most sway. And I think that, I mean, and looking back, this might have been wrong because I also watched the merge episode today, and you can see they all want Emma or me out, and then Jonton's like, no, we got to do Gene, and they end up doing Gene. So maybe it was Jonton all along as the strategic force, but I figured it was like Zach and Justin and Kim definitely seemed like they were more making the decisions, and Kim had Andrew, so I didn't feel like that was like a great route for me.
Sure.
And maybe it was just, maybe I'm like revisionist historying this, and it could have just been more natural, but because I felt like I had more chances to talk to Justin and Zach, and I did feel like they were more like interested in what I had to sell to them, like, hey, if you guys want to make a move, like, I'm here, I have no ties to even these 3 people in my tribe, like, here you go. And I think maybe that helped keep me around. I feel like Zach definitely wanted to keep me around because he wanted to make the move with me the next round, and I think Justin, to an extent too, did want to keep me around. So yeah, that was kind of my pitch. Also, feel free to cut me off if I go on any of these rants.
No, Tony, this is great. I want to hear your whole side of everything that happened, because it really, I feel like one of the injustices of my shorter edits was cutting a lot of the strategy you pulled off at the start of that day. You really, in particular, hustled to get that target off of yourself. And I knew, I was like, oh, well, Tony's going to get his glory towards the end of the season. Like, we can focus more on like what's happening in the first bit. But no, you pulled off a lot just during that one round alone. Do you remember sort of like where, like during these conversations, like where you thought the vote was heading? Like, did it just sound like they were going for Emma as far as you were concerned?
I think I say this in my voting confessional, and people, I think Zach, who said this? Zach says in an interview where I like overheard their plan.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know if that had like, I don't think I, like you said, I like doubled back. Like, I don't think I went that far away. I remember taking like one step and turning around, like, okay, guys, just lock in, like, who am I voting for? But I did think it was going to be a 3. I think I thought it was going to be a split, like 3-3 with, I didn't really know who Andrew, I don't know. I thought it was going to be a split vote, but I thought Gene and Emma would get the 2 majorities of the votes. I wasn't really, can't remember who I thought was going to go home. Maybe Emma, probably Emma.
Did it occur to you, if you think it's going to be a 3-3-3, does it occur to you to jump ship back to the Tortugas and make it like a 4-3-2 where they split their votes and you guys now have the majority?
Well, I thought it was going to be a split. I didn't really know where Emma and Gene were voting. They never like reconnect. I never reconnected with them after that initial talk. And me and Andrew had left on the note of let's vote for Emma. So it's like, as me, Andrew, and Justin were talking, like, all right, let's all do Emma, guys. And yeah, I guess that would have made sense if I had like more time to pull it together. But as I said, like, and maybe this is a fault. I mean, they didn't actually split it that way, so it wouldn't have mattered. But
yeah,
I was fully in grab on to any life vest I could find mode at that point and get to 7 and figure it out.
Got it. Tony, I do have another question from your dad. Your dad wants to know, what was your church league basketball team's record?
Oh, God. For the people, so I posted this in like the cast chat, but they were making, it's on the episode, everyone was making fun of me, and that episode would have been very tough to watch if I didn't know that I won the challenges at the end, because everyone was really, they're kind of mean. Like, this guy is like, he's not the threat we made him out to be. Like, this guy is not that athletic, like all this stuff. And I found out, I think I like had brought it up. They asked me if I played like sports in high school or something, and I was like, oh yeah, I played like tennis, and I was on like the church league basketball team, which was like, it was a very, they want to know the record. We were I think like 41-1 when I played for the church league basketball team, so it was pretty good. But it obviously does not sound like it's that talented of a roster. When you hear, I swear the basketball was at least of a decent quality, and hopefully my challenge performance of throwing ring tosses help you to believe that. But my coach of that team actually watched all the episodes, and he texted me like very angry at, I believe, like Kim, Andrew, Gene, and Emma, and Justin. I think, who was also in that conversation. He was like, where the fuck did they play basketball? My language, but all this stuff, like, these, no way, like, and then when I was winning the challenges at the end, I was texting him like, oh, Mr. Clark, like, I'm getting revenge for CYO. And he's like, I freaking love it. Like, you're making them eat their words. Like, that's the last time anyone will badmouth church league basketball. And it was great. So
I mean, Tony, I hope that you know, I would never have included all of the footage of them ragging on your athletic ability if you didn't show them all up in the end. The deleted scene we posted on Instagram of when you look them in the eye and you say, maybe I slipped by a few votes and then win a bunch of immunities, and they look you in the eye and they're like, haha, yeah, right. And then you do it, like, had to include it.
No, it was tough because everyone was making fun of me because I didn't tell a lot of people how I actually did. I had them watch the episodes, and they're all like, "You stink at these challenges." Everyone's like making fun of you, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, like, keep watching." Like, didn't want to like give it away, but like, I swear I'm not that bad at these challenges. Like,
oh, Tony, no. Well, you showed them all. The tortoise at the end outraced all of them in those challenges. I mean, we're going to get to the challenge wins soon, but so at that merge vote, the Tortuga tribe totally implodes. Like, you and Andrew vote Emma and Gene vote for you, and then Gene gets voted out. So you go back to camp with Andrew, who you voted with, but you two voted against Emma, who voted against you. At this point, what's the working relationship there between you, Andrew, and Emma? Like, where do things stand? Are you trying to keep your distance from Emma? Like, what are you thinking at that point?
So I think this kind of goes in to what happens at this next challenge and goes into, again, me having a really bad read on Emma. I remember telling the three of them, I'm like, honestly, like, I mean, we're all still here. That vote went bad, but I don't think it's like the worst thing in the world for us. Like, now we look like three very independent players instead of a group of three. And we have a lot better of a chance of like them picking us up for a move right now, which they did, than we did because we just voted against each other. So I'm like, guys, it's not that bad. And then we go and do that next challenge where we're cutting strings.
Yep.
And you say what that challenge is going to be. And immediately in my head, and I'm assuming Emma and Andrew are on the same page as me because I'm assuming Emma's a big Survivor fan, is like, we have no chance at this challenge. Like, it's a social, like, cut the strings. Like, I could be the smartest trivia person in the world and I would never win this challenge right now. So I'm like, all right, how can I like advance myself? If not, like, how can I help myself out in this challenge if not by winning? So what I'm going to do is like make it look like I'm pissed at Emma. Like, I'm done, and I'm done with like Tortuga. Like, I'm completely free agent. Like, keep playing into that. So I cut Emma's string. Like, I was really like, I think I had to cut Jonathan's string too or something, but I had a choice of anyone's, and I like cut Emma's, and I was cutting Tortuga, so I couldn't cut him anymore. And I remember like going back to camp and like trying to tell Emma like, hey, like, we both weren't winning that challenge, right? The only reason I cut your string is to like make it seem like we're not actually working together. And thinking that she took that well, and she's probably just like, like, yeah, I totally believe you. Like, yeah, right, you asshole, you just cut my string. Like, so that like kind of botched that a little bit. But that was my like idea with those three going into it.
So after that challenge, Zach presents a plan to you to vote for Kim. But ultimately, you end up being one of the votes for Jonathan. We're going to get into the suspicions that you might have voted for Kim, but you didn't vote for Kim. So how did that come to be that you didn't end up voting for Kim? Were you ever on board with that plan? Like, what changed your mind?
I was 100% on board when he came that to me. Like, I told him, he said, can I tell you a name and you do it? I try, like, I'll tell you. I think he said, like, I'll tell. We had a conversation, and the first part of the conversation, he was like, I'm going to tell you a name right before Tribal. Would you be willing to vote that? I go, absolutely. Literally whatever name you tell me, Zach, I will write down. And I meant that. I would have written down probably anybody's name if you told me to. And then, like, instead of doing that, like, later in that conversation, he ended up just telling me, he was like, all right, we're going to do Kim. I'm going to grab Johnson. I'm going to grab Justin. I'm like, all right, like, awesome. Like, I'm 100% on board. I will do it. And I was fully intending on doing it. And I talked to John Ton. John Ton was in, had a good like felt like he was actually going to do it. So I'm like, all right, I think this is good. Funny moment. And this is, I think he says this in a meeting of some of the episodes too. He like, we had like a daps at the end, and then he said level up or something like that.
That's right. John Ton said level up. He kept doing that, and then he'd say level up to people.
Yeah. So I felt like that really like solidified the bond, like him, like we were leveling up like our bond in the game. So I felt good about him. And then I was talking to Justin, and I could tell Justin like was not really.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I especially like there's the whole thing like right before travel, it's not really on camera, where like Kim comes up to me and she like basically threatens me like, if you know what's good for you in this game, like you're not gonna write my name down. I'm like, okay, like all right, this is interesting. And like she's obviously trying to flip it against like John Ton, and she's got a few votes, it seemed like, and she might have. It looks like she had Andrew and Emma and Tom. They kind of were like grouped up over, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna like talk to Justin as we're walking in, like figure out like what are we doing, Justin. So we're walking in like, and we sit next to each other at tribal. So like we walked in together.
Right.
I'm like Justin, like I will vote with you. Like what do you want to do? Like I felt good about my relationship with Justin. Like what do you want to do? And he's like, I'm gonna do John Ton. Like I'm gonna do John Ton. And I'm like, he's like, you want to do that? I think so. Like I'm in for that. I'm in for that. And I think like at tribal, like right as we're about to go vote, I like looked at him like, yeah, that's what I'm doing. Like I promise. Like I whispered it to him. And that's probably why he felt so confident in me gonna be a vote for John Ton, that he could pin that vote on Kim to me, which was smart on his end, obviously, because he knew like, I don't know. I thought like I was like building the bond with him and like voting with him and showing him trust. And then obviously didn't get that back. But yeah, so I was the only reason I think I would have preferred Kim out of the game over John Ton, because I felt like I don't think I ever got Kim one-on-one for a really long time. And she had Andrew, who I always felt like was going to be like her number if she wanted to make a flip over me. Like, and her like, I was like, if I'm the person Zach and Justin want to do a move with, then Andrew's going to be Kim's person. That was kind of like how I saw it. And something I would have preferred Kim to go over John Ton, but I thought it was going to be, I thought the votes were 5 on John Ton, 2 on Kim. So it's like, I might as well just vote with the majority. And like, if I burn Zach, sorry, everyone else burned you too. And like, they had more loyalty supposedly to you than I did. So yeah, that's why I didn't vote for Kim.
Did you have any feeling of like, oh, like, you know that Zach has talked to you, John Ton, and Justin about this. Do you have any feeling of like, oh, I could bring Emma in on this, or I could bring Andrew on this? Or was it kind of like, that's Zach's plan, like I'm going to follow his lead on this?
So he was telling me like they're splitting the vote. So we only need 4. Like that's all we need. So I kind of like was like, okay, if that's what he wants to do and not bring them in, like I'm in no position. Like I don't want to like start telling other people and then Tony told me we're voting whoever, and then all of a sudden Zach doesn't trust me anymore. So I'm like, all right, like let's not do that. And then right before tribal, I thought it was good until right before tribal when it all flipped, and just didn't have time to go try to like pull anything off. And even then, I was like, if John Ton's the one that goes, like I was like hoping like that something would happen at 7. I'm like, if anything happens at 8, that's not me, Andrew, and Emma, like, even though it's not my preferred person, maybe, like, that's a win. Like,
right.
I that was definitely, like, if you had told me going into that round, like, obviously it wasn't my ideal, but you said going into that round, hey, John Ton's going home, I would have been like, tell me where to sign, like, sign me up. like, not me, not Andrew, not Emma, like, awesome. That sounds great. So, yeah.
And you've got that great voting confessional as you vote out John Ton, as you laugh at all of the horrors for blowing.
Oh my God, I couldn't believe it. Like, we didn't even swap. At that point, I thought there was no idols in the game. I was like very much like defeatist going into the day. Like, I have no chance of like breaking through this unless I like pull like absolute tricks out of my bag. And like, I felt like I didn't even do anything that round. And like, it fell into my lap where they just all like imploded. Like, yeah, Zach trusted me because I had good conversations with him, which was like, I guess like good strategic play for me, like building that and having him be confident enough. Like, I think that was a good move. Like, that he was confident enough, like, to make that move. Like, I'm gonna tell Tony this. He's not gonna leak it. He's gonna do it after meeting me like a half hour before. Like, I thought that was pretty, like, that's what I wanted to happen, and that's what did happen. But like, I didn't do a ton, and like, for Kim to push it back on Johnson, like, over me, I was kind of like, why didn't she try to? I guess it was because Andrew and Emma were like votes she needed, and she didn't feel as confident in them voting me.
Oh yeah.
Like, I was kind of like, it's like I didn't really like initiate I didn't initiate either of these plans, and they were both initiated by horror people against horror people. It's kind of like, all right, yeah, like you guys are blowing it, but sure, fine.
After Johnton leaves, and we have a lightning round in the final 7, like right into immunity challenge, right into tribal council. Very limited time to think through this, but do you consider trying to get like Andrew and Emma to vote with Zach and you? Like, everybody ends up voting Zach. Does it occur to you to like try to go with his plan, or like try to bring him in to your side? What are you thinking at that point?
So I remember at final 8, like seeing the votes come out, and I see the third Kim vote, and the first thing that goes through my head is I am 1,000% getting pinned for that vote. Like, I know
you
for
immediately
fact, before all the votes were even, like, as before we even got to talk and got the next challenge, I was like, I'm getting like, I didn't know, I had no clue it was Justin, last person I suspected, but I was like, I'm gonna get pinned. Like, I am the obvious third person I voted there. And I remember like going up to Kim right before that challenge started. Like, first thing I did when you like released us from the seats, like, Kim, like, I swear that wasn't me. Like, I promise you, like, blah blah blah, all this stuff. Like, and I think I remember saying like, ask Justin, he can vouch for me. I told him right before I wasn't gonna do it. And obviously he's not gonna vouch for me. But I thought he, like, I was like, I have proof. I remember telling her that, like, I have proof, like, I didn't do it. And also, I forget if I noticed at the time that her name was spelled wrong, or if I noticed after when Justin had said it. But I stood next to her in the last challenge, and right next to where her name was, and I remember like I knew how to spell her name, like, because I like had looked at it. And
oh
like,
my god,
I forget if I brought that up to her or not. Like, yeah, I knew how to spell your name. I don't remember if I did, but if I did, she definitely didn't believe me. She didn't believe me anyway. So that was the
that's
immediate
wild
thing. Yeah. And then in that challenge, like, it was really like, I was really conflicted in that challenge because everyone was dropping and going to talk on the side. And I was like, do I, like, what are my chances of winning this? Is it worth it to go, like, am I in trouble? Do I go run and try to save myself? Like, do I drop out intentionally to go talk to like these people like Kim, Zach, and Justin and Andrew on the bench? Or like, do I think I can win? I'm like, it's probably not like my best challenge. Like, I don't know. And I like could see them talking, and you were saying it too, like, oh, the people on the side like are strategizing. You got to wonder what they're talking about. And like, I am wondering, like, I don't know what to do. So I end up like, I tried my hardest in that challenge, end up falling, and then go over and talk to them. And they're like, I got told Zach by, I think, Justin. And again, like what I was saying before, like, wasn't my ideal, like, perfect person to get out of the game. But I'm like, it's still good for me. I was not expecting like to get through 2 votes in a row now with hard people going home. And like, yes, it'll be like, if we get through Zach out, it'll be 3-3. And like, all of a sudden the game is wide open. So I kind of was like, and Zach, I think, might have told me to do Justin, but I didn't feel like he had told a lot of other people, and I didn't feel like it had any traction. And I remember Andrew like got up at tribal and went and talked to me and said, what are you doing? And I said Zach, and I think he would have maybe gone with me if I said Justin, but we still needed a 4th. So like, if we got him at camp, it might have been different. But yeah, I was like, definitely felt good about Zach, but I felt like that, I don't know. I just, his like, I didn't know if he was really gonna have a shot at like, if like I was gonna put my neck on the line to save him, then it was gonna, like, people were gonna turn it on me at that point. Like,
sure,
I didn't want to like be overtly, like, I didn't think I could pull it off basically with that short of time and like with the people that are left in the game.
Of course. So you do get through that vote. 2 Haras gone. We're tied up. 3 Tortugas, 3 Haras. Yeah. But you, like you said, you get the blame gets pinned on you for that third Kim vote. Talk to me about that. Was there any sort of fallout from that? Could you, like, were you picking up that like Kim was not your biggest fan at that point? Like, were the rest of Haro weird with you? Like, what happened at that point?
I think I felt like she didn't really believe me, but I felt like Justin believed me because I had just talked to him right before. Tom, again, was another person I didn't get a ton of one-on-one with. It was a lot of Zach and Justin throughout the game, especially early, who I was getting one-on-one. And at that point, I remember like not really like caring what they like, because I was like, it's 3-3 and we're gonna take him to rocks. Or like we're gonna like it's at least gonna go to rock, is what I was thinking. And I remember being like, one of us needs to win this immunity because then we'll like be drawing one less rock. And like if one of us can win, I think like we'll have the leverage to get him to flip. And like they're not gonna want to put 2/3 up against our 1/3, and then we can be the majority. Obviously, it was not the case. Unfortunately, I did not know that Emma had a very traumatic experience with rocks in her past. That now learning that, I was like, yeah, I don't blame you for not wanting to go to rocks, but like I had no way of knowing that like her one game of Survivor she ever played that was like, I don't know if it was rigged or not for her to win on her birthday. She only lost because of rock draw. Like
she was supposed to win her birthday party.
Yeah. So that was definitely not a factor I took into account when proposing that we go to rocks.
Tony, can you talk to me a little bit about your relationship with Justin in the game? Because that was a dynamic I was really interested by. You know, it starts out to me watching it is like, it starts with like that handshake between the two of you at that second challenge. And then like at the merge, you two are the first like cross tribal talk that's going on. It seemed to me watching it, I felt that there was kind of like a master student dynamic going on. Like it felt very much like I was watching Survivor Cagayan, and I was watching like Tony and Spencer go back and forth, like never on the same page, always kind of going after it. Like tell me about the relationship with Justin.
I actually like, and I think Justin probably felt worse about me than I did about him. I felt really good about Justin. Like and also I thought that like Kim and Andrew obviously knew each other. I didn't know who Tom knew, but I felt like he was kind of like ingrained with everyone. And same with Emma. And I felt like me and Justin were like the two like lone wolves. I was like, if Justin, there's all these duos in the game, like we need to be a duo. And he was agreeing with that. I was like, that makes like a lot of sense for us. And even at that final 6 vote, I think like he was the person like I probably least wanted out on that side at that point. I was also, I think, and the reason I didn't push Kim there, or I don't know why I didn't push Tom, but I remember having this thought like I could push Kim, but I'm not going to do it because if we get through this vote with Justin out, that leaves the three of us and then Kim and Tom. And that'll leave the duo of Kim and Andrew in the game. And I can go to Tom and Emma and say, guys, we can't take these guys who know each other to final 5 and then vote Kim out there for sure at final 5. And that'll buy me. All of a sudden I'm in the final 4 is what I was thinking if we vote Justin out right now. Like I'm locked final 4 because there's no way they're taking the people who drove each other to final 4 to tie the vote. So I think that was my thought process there. I didn't know that, obviously didn't know that Justin pinned that vote on me. So I felt better about him because of that.
Whoops.
Yeah. I know that would have been a crazy read for me, so I don't have too many regrets about not sniffing that out. But yeah, I felt good about Justin. I felt like we had a good working relationship, but he definitely was mad at me after voting for him at final 6 was the impression I got.
Yes, that based on the way that he mimed stabbing you in the back.
Stab.
I didn't see that until I watched the footage. I was like, oh my God. But before we get to that, you win your first individual immunity at the crossword puzzle challenge. How did that feel to get to win the first challenge there?
Yeah, so I remember you announcing that challenge and I was like, I am horrible at word searches. Like there's no way I'm winning this. And I was going through it and I was like, someone's about to get it. And I almost like I remember almost like stopping and being like, what is the point? Like, why am I even like, I've gotten like half of them and we've been going for like 8 minutes. Like, there's no way I'm winning this. Like, I'm like, I'll just keep going for fun, like whatever. And I'm getting closer and closer. I'm like, how has no one gotten this? Like, I don't have no idea. And then I like, Emma's next to me and she has got the highlighter and she told me she did this on purpose after, but every time she goes and does a word, she's like jamming the thing against the paper so it makes the loudest sound possible. And like in the back of my head, I'm like counting how many she has, and like she's trying to like intimidate me, and it's like it's very much working. Like I'm gonna lose. She's almost there. And then I think she was one word away or something. But yeah, I felt good because I didn't like I'd say I thought there was like roughly a 6 people left the game. I felt like I was roughly a 1 in 6 chance of going out that round. So I didn't feel like I was particularly in danger. Like looking back, I think I probably would have been gone there if I don't win that. But to win that, I thought it was huge because of the rocks kind of situation with that leverage that we would have by having a immunity holder on our side.
So you win that challenge, you go to the final 6, and at this point you're anticipating that it's going to go to rocks, right? That's what you're expecting from that vote.
I think I was all out of sorts at the final 6. I'm not gonna lie. I remember talking to Tom right before we went to tribal, and I'm like, where are the votes going, Tom? And he's like, everyone's voting Justin. Like Justin's voting Andrew, but we're all voting Justin. So it's kind of like, all right, like I guess like they're scared, they don't want to go to rocks, so it's 2/3 or whatever. I'm like, okay, I think Justin's going home. Like if it ties, they'll flake on the revote. We'll have the discussion where we can be like, you guys really want to go to rocks, like, and put your game to rocks. Like, look, I would have had like if it tied again, I would have had to agree unanimously, and I just wasn't going to agree unanimously on Emma or Andrew if they had voted for them. So I was like, if it ties twice, it will go to rocks because I'm not going to budge. And then I thought there was a chance it was 3-3. I definitely thought Justin was going home, going to that tribal. And then, yeah, obviously by my reaction, was not expecting it to be.
For anybody who's missed it, go back and watch the final 6. Tony's reaction to that last Andrew vote is like meme gold, you know?
Yeah. I was, oh man. Like I looked at Emma like she's holding a bloody knife. Like my eyes popped out of my head. That's one thing I realized, and happens a few more times. It's happened already a few times that I've talked about, but like I very much like wore my heart on my sleeve during this game, I felt like. And every time something happens, like, not to fast forward, but like when I get voted out and I'm walking down the path, like I look so sad. Like my shoulders are slumped and like my head is glued to the ground. My head looks like it's 1,000 pounds. Like oh my God.
I mean,
I look depressed.
Like that's what, you know, as a producer, that's what you look for, is players that are gonna like buy into it, like take it seriously, get fully invested. And you were in it. You were 100% in it. So yeah. I was glad that you wore your heart on your sleeve, on your Sesame Street sleeve.
Yeah, that shirt. I wear that shirt a lot, and it's gotten a lot of flack from people. And I remember, because I was in the cast photo, I remember like sharing the thing with people in Survivor in like our club chat, and there were like a bunch of people were like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you're wearing that shirt! Like the iconic shirt is back." So I like had worn it a bunch, and I don't know. I think I wore it a bunch for Survivor Northeastern, I'm pretty sure.
That's awesome. It's good luck. It's a good luck Survivor shirt.
I guess so. You said wear a shirt that shows your personality, and like what shirt do people associate me with? I'm like, yeah, definitely this.
No, that was exactly what we were hoping for. It was perfect. It was perfect. We get through the final 6 vote. We're at the final 5. And you're pretty clearly everybody's number 1 target, to the point that, you know, you're talking to Tom about what Justin might do. And Tom, to your face, is like, yeah, Justin's probably going to vote for you. What's the feeling there? Like, you know that you're everybody's target. What are you thinking? You got to challenge out? Like, are you seeing a combination of people? Is this when you start to reconsider like that fake idol you've got in your bag? What are you thinking there?
Yeah, so first, like some context here. So I played Survivor Northeastern. I got 5th place. I had played 3 other games besides that to that point. And like everyone in the club, like my Survivor club, had like known about them. One of them was we play like these games where you're like, it's all online, but you don't know who anyone is. So it's like secret alias, like Survivor basically.
Oh, and that's really cool.
I came in 5th on that as well. And then I played this online game and I got 5th again. And then everyone's like, they're making memes, like the 5th place curse, like Tony and like the guy hitting me over the head, like 5th place, all this stuff. And so we're walking back to camp from that vote. I'm like, I am the most cursed for, like, I cannot get by 5th. Like I get 5th every time, and it's going to happen again. Like, I just remember like that one confessional too. I was saying this part of my sleeve. Like I'm doing like the slap thing with my hands, and you can just like, I'm like, I thought I was in a really good position, and like now I'm
You were
dead. Like
really annoyed after that vote. Yeah.
I don't, yeah, I was just like, I remember being like more sad than anything. I'm like,
Yeah.
not again. Like Charlie Brown getting the football pulled every time. If it like, this is brutal. And then I remember they read the tree mail and it said stuff about like throwing. And I'm like, all right, like if there's ever a time for me to break this curse, like I gotta like, I'm like, this is like the curse. Like I gotta do it like brute force. Like I gotta do it myself. Like it's not gonna be anyone else gets me out of this curse. Like it's gonna be me. That's what destiny intended, and like all this stuff. So um we go to that challenge. I'm like, this like I'm like, yeah, this is win or go home. Like in my head, I'm like, I'm pulling out the fake idol this round, whatever happens, either for myself or for Emma if I win. But like at that point, they were like so overtly going for me that I'm like, even if it scares them, it has to like petrify them for them not do it. Like I need to win this challenge. And like I got 4 really quick in that challenge. And I think no one even had 2 when I got 4. And I was way ahead.
Yeah, you
And
were.
I couldn't like I all the last one, like I was so close, like it bounced. You can see me like think I have it at one point, like put my arm up and then nope, didn't have it. I'm like, oh my God, like not like this, like please just go on the thing. And I just like, oh, you can see my natural reaction to like, there it is, like let's go. And I was just so hyped up after that. Like, and you'll notice this is another thing, like you probably don't notice this if you're not Tony Calder and watch the episodes, but every challenge up to that point, and even the one I won the round before, when someone wins and they go up and they get the necklace, everyone like gives them a clap and like golf claps for them and like, oh, congrats. I go up and get that necklace. It is dead silent. Like it was like I was loving it. Like I just felt the energy suck out of everyone else in that challenge. And I was like, oh, like that feeling was priceless. I'm like,
Oh
oh
my
my
God.
gosh. They are all
I should have
so
cut the
bad.
music. I bet you can't even tell because I have that like blaring triumph. I should have cut that and just showed everybody like,
Yeah. No, they
that's
like you could just feel like no one clapped and like it was very awkward for them. And like they all left and I remember I stayed back and like filmed the confetti. You had me like sit in the weeds and like film this like
we had like
confessional.
the hill behind you for your epic like I
Yeah.
started this game as a tortoise because I was like Tony, for a little background for you at this point, the whole production team is enamored with your confessional giving. So you win that, and I'm like, you get anything you can out of Tony for this. This is Tony's big moment.
Oh man. Yeah. I remember saying like I got like because I stayed back and like I was really hamming it up. Like I gave that long speech about like he knocked me down 9 times. I get up 10. I was like, I'm like absolutely playing this up. Like that was awesome. Like I am like milking this for all it is worth. And then they all like went back to camp and like that challenge was like the only one at that side, I think. And like
Yep.
it was like a pretty far like trip back to camp. And I was like, all right, I gotta run back to go strategize. Like I'm gonna go catch up with them. And you're like, wait, can I like film you doing that and put that in the episode? I was like, sure. And then there's that slow-mo clip of me like running like Baywatch style through this road. And also my other favorite part of this challenge is me celebrating the win. And like there's these 2 old ladies like walk by in the background, like, what is going on? And I'm like not even like thinking about it at all, like just loving it in the moment. But like watching that, like it's like this very intense survivor challenge, and they're like on like a nature walk like, with their watering cans and stuff with plants and whatever. But yeah.
I know, not the best challenge placement on my part, but it was fun having like old people walk by and be like, what are they doing? What's going
Yeah.
on?
No,
So
that was great.
so you win the challenge, you give you give us the winner confessional. It's all coming up, Tony. You get back to camp. What happens at camp that ultimately convinces you to go with Kim and Justin to vote out Tom? Like surely you must have been kind of skeptical about this, right? Like what was their pitch to you? Because why would what could have convinced you anything but Emma, you know?
Yeah. So I'm walking. I think part of this makes the episode too. And this was like the one thing I was like, I hope this makes the episode. And a little bit did, because I thought it was, I don't know, I thought it was like ridiculous. But I'm walking back like to the camp from like the entrance, and Tom and Justin are in front of me, and they like are talking, and I'm right there. I don't know if they didn't know I could hear. I feel like they didn't know I could hear him and just didn't give a crap at that point. But they were like, oh, talking about like, oh yeah, when it's me, you, and Kim in the final three, and then like all this stuff and like blah blah blah, and then like, yeah, well like, and at one point like they kept saying that, and like when Tony loses next round and we vote him out, and then it's us three, and like, well, we gotta do Emma this round first, and they turn and look at me like, you're good with Emma, right? I'm like, I don't even remember what I said to that question, but I was kind of like, why? What are you guys doing? Like you guys know I could win the next challenge, right? Like that's a possibility. And like you guys are like really not, I don't know, like it's kind of mean. You're just telling me to my face, like, yeah, you're done. Like you're not even giving me like a little bit of hope here.
This is the part where you're walking down the path and you turn and look at the camera because they're just doing it so blatantly.
They were doing it so blatant. I remember like gagging myself, like putting my finger in my mouth, like rolling my eyes, like all this stuff to the camera. Like, what are they doing? Like, this is crazy. I couldn't believe it. I was just like, oh my god, these people are something else. Like, really not trying to. I was like, I really have no hope of getting through this game without winning these challenges, huh? At that point, like really like solidify. I mean, if I didn't already think that, if I was 99% sure before, I was 100% sure after that. And then you also, I think this got put in the episode, like the next one.
Yep. I know what you're about to tell us.
Yeah. Where I'm like saying I'm like the weird kid at the middle school dance and no one's talking to me and all this stuff, because it really was like bad. Like we had like 15, like all this time at camp, and like people were very much going out of their way to not talk to me. It wasn't like they were like talking to like everyone and like I just happened to be talking to them less. Like they were just like not, they probably would have like talked to me if I like initiated it, but like you figure as the person who's definitely not going home, at least someone's going to try to like talk to you, and they really were not doing that at all. And I was kind of like, I remember like not, I don't know how close I was to doing this, but thinking like, wouldn't it be funny if I was just like, guys, is it even worth to talk strategy, or should I just like keep stretching for the next challenge? Like, is that what we're doing here? Like, and I'm like the little bit of jury management, I was like, okay, they're gonna like be mad at you for saying that, but I really want to just be like, oh guys, I'll be over here stretching. Like, if you ever want to talk, like no pressure, like definitely don't have to, but like I'll be here. So I really want to say that, but held myself back, probably for this. But and it's the only person I talked to that whole round, like besides Tom and Justin, half talking at me, I guess you would say, on the path, was Emma. And they had told me like, I don't know, or somehow I got told Tom by Justin and Kim at some point. Maybe it was then. I feel like I didn't talk to them that much because I just had the thing where like no one was talking to me, but somehow I knew from them they were voting Tom, or that they were telling me they were voting Tom. And then I was talking to Emma about the idol, and that was also very interesting because I thought that she would. Yeah, this is
Emma's least favorite scene in the whole. She can't watch this scene.
It was very bizarre. Like it turned into me like when you start putting two hands out like this, like that's like I was like at one point I'm like, please Emma, like just like let me help you. And I was like, help me, help you, help me. And she was not like really interested, and I was kind of like begging. I'm like, Emma, like I almost thought it was going to be better if I like had given it to her and had her pull it out herself, or like hand it to her at tribal, or like put it around her neck at tribal, like all like those were like my initial ideas. Then I was like, she's like doesn't want me to do it, so it's like she's not gonna like help me act here, like she's not gonna like sell this like I thought she was going to. So I'm just gonna like my idea was like, I'm gonna pull it out and to threaten to play on whoever. They'll assume it's Emma. I thought they'll assume I'm gonna play it on Emma, and like we'll vote Tom, because if they panic and are like that's real, the other name they were saying was Tom. So I'm like, they might just like panic and vote for Tom. So that's why I didn't like actually think they were going to do Tom without the fake idol, but I thought they might after I pulled it out. So that's why
Got
we
it.
stuck Tom. It would have been a crazy move, and people have said like, "Oh, you should have done this." Like, and think about it, I don't regret not doing this because there was just no way I would have known this. But like, if me and Emma vote for Kim or Justin there, it would have been, they would have gone like 2-2-1, 2 get negated, 1 for Emma, 2 for them, which would have been actually an insane play, but unfortunately.
There's no way, like, as far as you know, there's no idols. So
Yeah, I was also convinced there was no idols in the game at that point, which I thought would help my case because no one would know what the idol looks like. But then Tom knew what it looked like, and apparently Kim knew what it looked like. I think because Justin got scared about it.
Yeah, Justin didn't know what it looked like.
Yeah, and then Kim and Tom, like, they're probably like, "Yes, guys, it's not real."
Emma ends up going. She gets idled out by Tom's idol. Did you at that point, because at this point you do see that there were 4 votes cast against Tom. As far as you know, everybody voted for Tom. Did you sort of buy because their whole plan was, let's convince Tony that we're working with him, we're all against Tom. Now Tom is the one on the outs. Like, did you buy any of that? Like, what did you think was going on there?
I think that I was like confused why, like, I definitely was confused. I still felt like I think I'm not 100% sure like what exactly I thought, but I think you could have convinced me, and like they might have convinced me that like they wanted Emma out over Tom, or they wanted Tom out over Emma rather. But I just felt like if I had lost, they would have all voted for me anyway. Like I still felt like I made the pitch. I was gonna like after that vote, like regardless of, I felt like Kim and Justin at that point were like the 2 big jury threats, and so I was like, I have to. My only pitch is to go to Tom and tell him like we got to vote together, or else like you're in like they're a duo and they'll both beat you at the end. Like you're in third if you don't vote with me at 4. So I think the reason I like voted with him was not really because of the idol play. That didn't really like affect my thought process. And looking back, like they have a funny scene there where it's like the 3 of them and they're like, yeah, now we know who Tony's gonna vote for. Like that'll be huge for us. Like there's 4 people left in the game. Like how is it huge? It can't be huge for all 3 of you. Like either I win or I'm voting for one of you. Like why does it matter? I don't know. Like you can't play an idol anymore. Like I don't know why they thought that was like that move like really and we'll probably get into this later as well, but like that when I found out like that happened, I think like going into final tribal, I was pretty 50-50 who I was going to vote for. Justin with the Hickey vote was obviously huge for him. And then like Tom pulling that move, like I thought he had this big idol play where he saved himself, and I was like, that was a really good move. And then they told me what it was and like kind of what the plan was, and I'm like, that was just kind of like a really like unnecessary like kick in the face to me. Like I don't know, like you guys had to do like I want the idol to do something cool just to like do, I don't know, like that just felt like you were trying to be flashy just for the sake of being flashy, and like you guys could have just voted Emma and like it wouldn't have changed anything. I don't know, I didn't love like them trying to sell that as a good move, or like Tom especially, because I didn't see how that helped him at all. And like at best I felt like it was a nothing move, like it
Right.
because he was in the same spot after that vote that he would have been if he just had either held the idol or played it and just then had them all vote for Emma anyway.
Sure.
Like I don't know, I didn't like really get, I still don't understand like why that theatrics had to be done, but
yeah,
I
mean I think
you can explain it.
I was gonna say, I'm sure Justin's listening. Justin, you're next, buddy. You're next on my list for interviews, so you'll get to explain it. And I think Emma also would probably not have minded if that was not how she was voted.
Yeah, and it was like, yeah, it was mean to Emma too, who was like my final 2, my last person who was talking to me in the game. Like, you guys really like sent her out in like that brutal way. Like, give her a little, I don't know, give her some dignity in death. Like, I don't know.
Well, Tony, let me ask. I've got a question from Andrew. Actually, Andrew wrote in. He wanted to know, what was your ideal final tribal scenario? Who did you want to bring to the end? And we're at the final 4 now, but maybe we have to go back to Emma with the final 5. Like, what as you're sort of dwindling down to numbers, like who are you eyeballing as like, this is the person I want to try to go to the end with?
I think at Final Five, it was definitely Emma.
Mhm.
Like I felt like maybe I didn't have the best chance of beating her, but I felt like she was the only person who could ever be convinced to take me to the end. Like the other ones, I felt like I really had no chance of convincing them. Emma, I felt like, all right, like if she, like, if we can get to 4, and I was like, she will, like my last, like, I want her to get through because I'm like, she will tie the vote for me at 4, and that like that's the only way I'll get through a round without winning a challenge is that final 4 vote will she'll tie it for me. I probably have to win final 3 anyway. But I was like, if I like save her with the fake idol and like I win these challenges and get to the end, like maybe I'll have a better pitch than her. I think like Emma or Tom were the 2 I wanted to sit next to. Probably Emma. I'd say Emma, not because I think she played the worst game or like was the worst jury threat, but I felt like I was confident in like what I had done. And like I was like, if I get to the end and they don't respect it, they don't respect it. But like I've done all I can do. And I wanted to like get to the end with someone who had like been working with me and trying to like make moves with me over like Tom or Justin or Kim, who like had no interest in working with me at all, really.
Right. And you know, like if it's you and Tom at the end, like that's still 4 Haras on the jury. Many Haras have said in their exit interviews like that they were never going to vote for a Tortuga to win. So that makes sense to me, you and Emma going to the end.
But if Andrew wants that answer, maybe I don't know if he was asking this question to try to get me to say meet him in the final 2. But that would have been great. I would have loved that. He was my number 1 throughout the whole day. So
okay, I hope Andrew appreciated that answer. So we get to the final 4 immunity challenge. Tony, I've got to ask, how amazing did it feel to win the final 4 challenge with the ball on the spoon? How amazing was that?
That was huge. I remember like being like really stressed right after because, and I've gone in slow mode this in the episode because the first ball like drops off my spoon like as I'm putting my foot down. And like if you go in slow mo, my foot hits the plate before the ball hits the ground. So I'm counting it as a good because that was you said your foot has to hit the rule describes was the foot has to hit the wooden thing before the ball drops. And the ball did not drop to the ground before my foot hit or after my foot hit the thing. My foot hit it first. So I'm counting it. And also I went back and other people grabbed it early anyway. So it's all even. But I remember being really worried, like, oh my God, they're gonna look at the footage and like they're gonna take my point, like they're gonna take that away and we're gonna redo it and like all this
I
stuff.
remember I saw footage of you looking at the camera, like that all counted, right? You were very nervous. It was very clear.
Yeah, I'm like I do not want to cheat. Like I'd rather lose than like cheat in this challenge. But like looking back, I'm glad my foot got on the pedestal before the ball hit the grass. So it was all fair. Other people like I think there's one where Justin grabs the ball really early too, or like 2 steps early. So I'm like, all right, it's fine, whatever. It's a backyard survivor game.
Yeah, Kim, if you're watching this, please don't sue me for a bad call in a challenge.
No, it counted. It counted per the rules. That is a good.
It counted.
That is a good ping pong ball. And I was glad to see. I was really worried about that episode coming out. I was like, I really hope my foot got on this before the ball hits the ground, but it did. But anyway, back to the question. I remember in that challenge, like. I really, I think I like had figured out a good strategy because a bunch of people like had the spoon like kind of at the edge, like it grabbed it with like their front teeth, and I like jammed it in the side of my mouth, so only like a little bit was sticking out, and like I really had it like tight, so I felt like that was why I could go faster. And then I got the first one, I'm like I can go way faster, and then I ran on the second one, and then I fell. I was like, all right, I like I'm way behind. I'm like, shoot, I just blew it. And then I'm like slowly catching up to Justin. I'm slowly catching up. And then the last one, like I hear him fall in the background and I get it. And I was like, oh my God. Like I was like, because I couldn't, and also the other thing I did in that challenge, which I think really helped was people, when they would put the ball in the cup, they would take the spoon out of their mouth to run back. And you could probably run back a little bit faster by doing that. But I kept the spoon in my mouth and would run back with the spoon, like, so I didn't have to like re-put it back, like jam it back in the side of my mouth every time I went back.
Oh, interesting.
So, yeah. So I think like my I could just pick up the ball and go, and they would have to like set the spoon up and then like position it, put the ball on. And like I definitely like got more tired from that because I couldn't really breathe out of my mouth the whole challenge. So you see right after, like I just like am dead. Like like was definitely like breathing. There, everyone else is breathing heavy, but I felt like because I wasn't breathing in my mouth, I was like pretty tired. But again, you can see it's that shot of like they all got their hands on their head, like they're doubled over, sad. Like no one's like just go like I go get the necklace, and they're like, good job, like great job, like the most monotone thing ever. And I was just like, oh man, like I think like I'm so close, like I can do it, like I'm right there. And like I'm one challenge away was all I was thinking after that. Like I think if I yeah, so I definitely knew like it felt good. Like my survivor like bucket list all time dream, like when I was a kid watching, was not to like win, but I don't know if you remember, do you watch Survivor Samoa?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, with Russell and stuff. And then when Brett's winning the challenges at the end, and the one like when he walked into tribal with the necklace on, and everyone on the jury is like getting hyped, and I was like, that is all I ever want from a Survivor game.
Oh, no
And
kidding.
like, and in this one, like I didn't even know, like I'm like I don't know if I'm this huge like jury threat or whatever, but like I felt really confident that Andrew was rooting for me, and that I figured Emma probably was too after I was the only one who tried to like keep her in. And so I remember like when I kept winning the immunities, especially like after Andrew got out, I got the 2. I would just go to tribal and all the jury would be there. We walk by and I'd like look at Andrew and like give him a smile, like look, like let's go. Like I figured they all knew like if I lost, I was out. I kind of was like loving that. Like I didn't know that you were telling them who would win. I think you told them who would win before we walked in, right?
I think so, yeah.
So I thought they didn't know though. So I thought they'd all be like, "Oh man, like Crown C1 and like all this stuff." So I was excited for like that moment of like, okay, this tribal will actually be interesting now instead of it just being like obvious 3-1. I don't even know. I was gonna try to get Tom to vote with me. I think hope for a tie, and probably vote Kim. But yeah.
Well, it you know, because of that, it ended up being a very interesting tribal council. You know, you
Yeah.
get back to camp and everybody, like you said, despair in the
Yeah.
Aesop tribe because you won. We only saw a few of the conversations because it was sort of a long episode, so we couldn't show everything, but we only see a few of the conversations that are happening before the vote. What was your thought process going into that? Like, how did you end up deciding to vote for Kim? Like, at any point, were you considering Justin or Tom?
I think I never really considered voting Tom. I think that was the one option. I had promised him before the round that I was going to vote with him, and he had promised me the same thing. I didn't really believe him, but I was like, there's no point in me like going back on this promise and like burning someone. And I was like, anyway, I think like voting Kim or Justin out would be better. And I was like, is basically, so we went on I went on like dates, I think they were calling it with them.
Yeah.
Like we talked to all 3 of them one-on-one. I think I asked them all the same question, and I just wanted to see what they had to say. Like if I like if you're still in the game, like I phrased it like, is there any way I get to final tribal without winning final 3 immunity? Is what I asked all of them. And I think Tom gave me like a very like non-committal answer, but like at least was like, I think Justin and me played similar and you played different. So I was like, okay, at least maybe he's thinking about it. Justin, I think he told me he told me that he would take me if it was me, him, and Kim. I think he told me he would take me. And then Kim told me she would take me, I'm pretty sure. And I remember thinking like, so this is what I think. I don't think I've like, this probably applies earlier in the game, but like this is how I feel about like Kim's game. I think she was like really, really good at like kind of like brainwashing people with like this like, I don't want to say like a little bit like mumbo jumbo survivor talk where she like beats around the point a little bit, but she's like so charismatic that it works. And the scene that sticks out to me about like this, which I think really like describes it well, is it's final 5 and Emma's talking to her and Justin. This is in the episode. And Emma's like, am I out if Tony wins immunity? And then she's kind of like, we'll like have to like very like, I don't even know what the word describe would be, but like corporate like talk, like we'll have to like take a step back and like reevaluate and see what works for all of us strategically or something like that.
Yeah, you're right.
And she also like says that again at final 4 before the challenge when like what happens if he wins. And she was kind of like, well guys, like we'll figure it out. And like, well, one of you's gonna go. So like, but she was so good at that. And like she completely got Emma to flip to her at final 6 by like just like saying that, like sweet talking her basically. And like that's why Kim was so good, because she was able to like to do that. And I think like a game like this was like perfect for her skills, because like with people who haven't like played a ton of Survivor before, like when someone's like really likable and charismatic like that, like that definitely like works. And like that's why Kim was like maybe if I think if I don't win that final 4 challenge, probably wins the game. Like, and I would have happily voted for her at the end over anybody, I think, except maybe Andrew if he had gotten there. But yeah, and I remember her saying that to me, and like I felt like she was like pouring it on a little too thick, to where she was like, I'm definitely gonna take you. And I'm like, there's no way. Like after all the like all our rival, I think you're just calling like a rivalry.
Yeah.
I'm like, there's just no way that you like take like, I just don't think there's any chance. I remember like coming into that conversation, and like I just did not feel like she was genuine at all. And I guess I was right. But so I remember being like, there's no like, maybe there's like a chance that Justin or Tom will take me, like if they win. And like they'll at least, I feel like, hear me out. Like I still feel like Kim is mad at me because she thinks she voted for me. I voted for her. And like there's just no way that she'll ever take me. So I'm like, that makes the most sense for me. Like I think in a Justin, me, Tom final 3, like I feel like I still probably had to win no matter what, but I was like, at least there's a pitch. And also I felt like she was like the last challenge was not going to be physical. I was feeling like, because there have been 2 in a row that were pretty physical. I was like, if it's a puzzle or like something mental, I feel like she's really, really smart. And like I'm scared to go up against her in like something like that. So and I was like, I think like, and also if it is physical, like maybe Justin and Tom are like a little bit stronger physically, but I had just like beaten them both in 2 physical challenges in a row. I felt like momentum I had and like the mental edge I had over them in physical challenges at that point were just like, oh, we can't beat this guy, like we can't get him. Like I was like, if I lose a physical challenge at the end of this game, like, and I have to go out like that, like fine, like so be it. And like if I'm gonna lose the physical challenge to Justin, I'll probably lose it to Kim too. Like if like I'll have to blow it in a physical challenge to lose the game, and like I'll blow it against whatever 2 people I'm up against. So that was like my main thought process in voting for Kim there.
Got it. So you vote for Kim. They try to pitch you during the tiebreaker. Was there any thought of wavering and switching your vote to Tom, or was that really just not, like, you were safe? Like what did you think? Was there a chance of you flipping?
Yeah, no, I don't think so. Like I just didn't feel like, especially to do like, even if like I was like, oh man, you're making some good points. So like just especially with immunity, to like bow down on it in front of the whole jury would have been a really bad look, I felt like. And I still felt, even his points he was making, like I said, she was like, I'm worse at challenges. And she was like, I voted with you all these times. Like, I don't really know if you have. Like, I don't think that's true, but it's like,
wait, let's check the records on how often Kim voted with you.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, you like voted with me for Tom last round, but like, I don't know. And then yeah, so I was just like, I think it was better. I thought Justin maybe would flip, and she was saying all the challenge stuff, which I like already talked about, like maybe had some validity, but I was just like, yeah, I don't know. You're just telling me that because you know that's what I need to hear. So I'll take my chance. I don't think Justin's gonna flip either. I'll take my chances. And I was like, especially if I go to bat for Tom publicly, maybe he's more likely to take me. Obviously wrong, but maybe he's more inclined to take me because I just saved him in front of everyone if he wins this challenge. Yeah.
Sure. Well, Kim ends up going, but not with that one final like Hara take it home shot.
Yeah, that was tough.
And we do the final immunity challenge, and much to the disappointment of spoiler alert, the entire production team, you end up losing that one. What'd you think at that point? Once Tom wins, do you think that there's any chance that he takes you? Obviously, I asked him, like, do you want to hear their pitches? And he says no. And thank God, like as a TV producer, you jump in and say, can I do it anyway? Like, what'd you think? Like, did you feel like there was any chance of being taken?
Yeah, so this is actually another, like, going back a little bit here. This is another moment where you can see me like having a very visible reaction to something. Because we didn't know the last challenge is gonna be at tribal, and you say the last challenge is gonna be at tribal, and like I have a very like visible negative reaction, which probably to someone watching is like, oh man, he's like didn't want to go right into it, like he wanted time to go to camp and like talk or whatever. The actual reason I was upset was because we weren't going up to the field. And I was like, if we go up to the field, it'll be at least a component of it will be physical, where it's like maybe it's going to do something physical and then a puzzle or like some sort of physical aspect to it.
Mm-hmm.
And which I felt like I had a really good shot at. And then when you said it's gonna be a tribal, I felt like my odds instantly dropped to like exactly 1 in 3 when you said that. I was like,
Yeah.
this is very much like, and the jury trivia thing, like I kind of like was basically, so in that challenge, there's 2 questions I was like 50-50. It was the baton twirler, I was 50-50 if it was Kim or Jean, and the improv, I was 50-50 if it was Andrew or Zach. And I guessed wrong on both those 50-50s. If I guess one right, I go to the tiebreaker. If I get both the 50-50s right, I win the challenge. So basically, like the game came down to 2 coin flips. I needed at least one, got neither of them. And yeah, that's how it goes sometimes. But
All Swedish,
uh,
no finish.
yeah, all Swedish, no finish. I remember like when he said I don't want to hear anyone's pitch, I'm like, that's probably not good for me.
Yeah.
And like if I'm already going, then I might as well at least give him the pitch. Which I did feel like a lot of what I was saying at least had some merit. Like I felt like he had he had Kim I when Kim said that as she was leaving, I like was kind of like, all right, like that's funny. But then I was like, that's good for me, right? Because if I lose, I could be like, look, guys, like the jury hates me. Like I
Oh
was almost
yeah.
like Kim, I didn't think Kim was gonna vote for me anyway, but I'm like, I'm glad you said it because then I can be like, well, you have Kim's vote, you have Zach's vote, so you're up 2-0 automatically over me. And if Justin if you take Justin, I'm gonna vote for Justin, and I forget what else I said, but like that'll be an auto vote for Justin. So you're either up 2-0 or you're down 0-1. And
Right.
like I've won challenges, but I think like your only chance is like I've played this different game and they respect the different game more. I was trying to be like Justin, I feel like has you like covered. Like you made all the same moves, but he was just seen as the leader and you were seen as a follower. What's the pitch I was trying to make? I also thought it was interesting in this episode where I think we filmed quick confessionals right before the challenge.
We did,
The
yeah.
challenge. And Tom says the only way I get to the end is if I win the challenge. And I felt like there was no way he doesn't get to the end. I don't know, because if I won, I think I would have taken the end. I think if Justin won, he'd take him the end. Obviously, if he wins, he gets the end. So I'm confused why. So I think Justin said when we were debating, like, if you really want to go to the final two with me, like you said, then you'll do this or something. But maybe that's why he thought that. But I don't know. I was surprised that Tom felt like he was the person going there. I'm curious if he ever does an interview why he felt that. If the Justin like comment was why, because I felt like he was locked.
I'm curious as well because I never really did the math like that on like who takes who, but I didn't know what Tom was referring to specifically, but it was the most dramatic of the 3 confessionals. So I was like, that's the note we got to end on.
Yeah.
I to be told, I don't know what it means either. Tom, if you're listening, I would love to find out. Let's schedule an interview, bud. You reach out to me if you want. But anyway, so we go through the challenge. You end up losing. And like you said, like the shoulder slumped. I think that, at that point, definitely, you're definitely like a jury favorite going into it. Not a lock, because like I said, like a lot of the horrors were kind of like, but like right before Tom votes, it gets cut out of the episode, but Justin screams after him like, oh, if you vote me out, I'm voting for Tony. And at that point, you got to figure like, okay, Tony's got Jean, Emma, Andrew, and now, okay, so Tony must win then. I think Justin probably, if Tom was wavering at all, I think Justin probably got him at that point.
So I remember Tom walked to go vote, and I remember you can see like I think this part makes the episode, the other part doesn't, where I'm like, oh, like good luck, Justin. It was fun playing with you. He's kind of like whatever, like I'm not like he was not very into the like sportsmanship there, which is funny to watch back. But he also was saying like when Tom's going to vote, he's like, oh, I think it's definitely me. Like I'm definitely gone. I'm like, are you sure? Like I thought it was definitely going to be me going. And then I had no hope up until he said that. And I was like, maybe there's like a 2% chance. If Justin really thinks he's going, and I don't know, I'm curious to see what Justin says on this too. Like, did he actually think he was going to go, or did he want to like have the jury hear that and be like, look, I convinced Tom to take me even though like I shouldn't have, or whatever. And then you can also see in the episode, like Justin like picks up his backpack to like go leave, and my head is like in my hands. He like pats me on the back and like all this stuff, and got put my buff over my eyes. But he like picks up his backpack and like is like starting to get up, and then like puts his backpack down and is like, oh my gosh. I don't know if that was acting or like what, but
I have no idea if that was real or not. I'm excited to find out from Justin if because that was an interesting moment, because I think everybody was like, okay, it's like that was the end of Tony, like that's too bad. But yeah, yeah, but well, I'll talk to Justin about that in a few weeks, see what was going on there. Tony, before we get to Final Tribal, anything else from before that point that you want to touch on?
I think just at the end, yeah, I was definitely very sad to go out. That walk was very long, and it's also funny. Like I say in my final like words, like I thank the production team or whatever. And I was watching like the last episode. Like I had just gone home for winter break when the episode came out. I was watching with my parents, and they had watched all the season and stuff, and they were like, when I thanked the production team, they were like, oh, like we were so happy and proud of you that you like thanked everyone. Like that was the proudest we were of you all season. I was like, not like the immunity wins or anything. They're like, no, like when you said thank you to like Dylan. I was like, oh, all right, like sure.
That's so sweet. Oh my God. Oh, that's really sweet. Oh, yeah. I like that. Well, Tony, we get to Final Tribal Council. What are you are you anticipating voting one of them over the other or going into it, or are you really going in like open mind, like I'm gonna decide this based on what I hear?
Felt like looking back, I feel like I was leaning Justin, but I said in my final thing like I haven't made up my mind yet, so I might have been slightly leaning, but I think I was definitely open to voting for Tom. I felt like Tom at Final Tribal, I thought Justin had a really strong Final Tribal, and I felt like Tom did not seem like he wanted to win as much as I wanted to see from someone. I felt like I had just worked so hard to like get as far as I did in the game, and especially with Tom being the one to vote me out. And then I felt like he was very apathetic at Final Tribal, which like if you didn't want to win, then like, man, you ruined it for me. Like that kind of felt bad. And then when like I asked the question like, who jury votes did you have raise your hand? And he didn't raise his hand for anybody. And I specifically said you need 4 votes to win, basically saying like raise your hand for 4 people, like you're at least 4. And he didn't raise his hand for anyone. I was kind of like, well, if you don't think anyone is going to vote for you, then like if you don't believe in your own game, then why should I, as a juror, believe in your game? So, and I thought, yeah, Justin, like the reveal of him being the Hinky vote, I thought was really was obviously good. So, yeah, I definitely like going to vote. I didn't have. Going into Final Tribal, I was definitely had like conflicts, but like I felt confident in voting for Justin after Final Tribal.
Can you tell me a little bit more about your jury question? Because I thought that was I've never heard of a question like that. I thought that was really unique. What was it that you were looking for? Was it just like you wanted them to show like the confidence in their game that they thought they could pull it off?
Yeah, I think that was part of it. I actually stole that from my friend Holland, who gave me the fake idol I talked about earlier. He stole it from like online games, I'm pretty sure. And he asked that at the Final Tribal of my Survivor Northeastern season. And it was like I thought it was a really cool question. And I trying to like think of something good to ask. And that's kind of usually my default if I can't think of anything. So I was like, oh, I'll ask that. And like, especially with Tom having been like so much like, why do you deserve to win? He kind of like, I don't know. I think I played good. And I was like, all right, like, here's your chance, Tom, to like, these are the votes I think I have, like one last chance to like lock it in. And then he didn't really do that. Justin didn't raise his hand for me either.
I noticed that, yeah.
Which I was kind of like, I'm surprised he didn't do that because, but yeah, I always think that's an interesting question to see, like, and it's more interesting too. Like, I didn't have a ton of time to talk to the jury. Like, I came right back from getting voted out and right into that. And it's cool too when you like talk to the jury a little bit and like, oh, I'm leaning towards this, and like see if they have a good read on the game and like, do you know, like, have you learned a lot about this person, like what they value, who they like, who they don't like, and like that's usually it makes it a little more interesting too. But yeah. That's what I was thinking with that.
So what was it that you heard during the final tribal council that ultimately settled on like, all right, like Justin's the one I want to win? What did you hear that made that final decision for you?
I think definitely I feel like he articulated the way he played
Mhm.
really well. With the vote, I think it would have been a lot different if it say there's a scenario where me and Justin are sitting together at the end and he tries to like, hey guys, look, I got all these people not to trust Tony, and like this was my big move. But then I would have just been like, well, I'm still sitting here, so it didn't really work because you didn't get me out after all that. But like it did work exactly how he described it, because he like hid behind me as like his shield basically the whole end of the game, because he got everyone not to trust me, and then I built up threat, and like he was in a situation where he was just never going to go out of the game before me, like
Mhm.
rightfully so or not, because of the move he made. And I thought that was like really smart, and like to see Kim still have no idea about it, and like was pretty, that was definitely telling to that, like, okay, yeah, like it was really well executed and worked exactly how we wanted it to. And then yeah, the stuff with the idol, like like the like contrast of like Tom's best move being like big move being the thing with the idol, and Justin's best move being that, which I felt like was really really good, and then Tom's move with the idol I felt like didn't help him, as I said
Mhm.
earlier, really at all. Thought that was
Mhm.
like a big check for Justin. And I like connected a lot more with Justin throughout the game. Like he was much more willing to work with me, I felt like, than Tom was. Tom
Mhm.
was very much like horror strong the whole game, like loyalty, loyalty, loyalty. And which is fine. Like is probably a smart way to play the game if you're up 5-4 going to merge. Like he was kind of the sane man during that round. Like, guys, like don't blow it up, like
Right,
please, which
right.
was smart of him. But as someone on the like minority, it was like my only crime against Tom was just having a red buff at the start of the game. He was never gonna work with me because of that. So that was kind of like, you do like to see like the person who won at least like, all right, I worked with them a little bit throughout the
Right.
game. Like Tom was only really the final four vote, which felt like it was more me saving him and him working me out of necessity than anything else. But
Right.
Tom did like with the idol, holding the idol for that long, I think was a really good move. I think Tom played a good game. Like, I know I've kind of been like talking about the like, I was 50-50 going into it. Like Tom did play strong. I think he had a case.
Mhm.
Like no shade to him. I thought he played really well. I just, for the reasons that, yeah, I
Yeah, I
felt
know.
like Justin
I'm
was
I
warranted
mean,
to
like
win.
I talked to Tom briefly after the game, and he was like, I was not aware that the game ended in like a he didn't know that like the final travel format was like making speeches.
Yeah,
So he was, like Justin clearly like has this experience and like kind of is ready to like kind of make his case, and it just like Tom wasn't his A game at that point, but yeah,
yeah.
both played interesting, compelling games. So that brings us to the end of the season, Tony. And I have a fan question for you. Matt Connerty from Instagram wants to know: is there a possibility we see Tony in season 2? So Tony,
So
I got to know, and this is non-binding contract. You're not signing any paperwork agreeing to this. Would you play Survivor Millennium Park again, or would you play any other Survivor games like this again?
so I was thinking about this, like, because I saw other people ask the question, and or you've been like hinting at a potential season two. And at first I was like, I've kind of like, I feel like there's like I accomplished everything I want, except like winning. Obviously, like I like had the clutch community wins. Like I was really really like satisfied with how I
Mhm.
played, and like it feels like there'd be only a way to go down if I ever came back. So that was my initial thought. Like I like where my legacy, I guess if you want to call it that, is at.
I would
But then I
call it
was
that.
thinking about
Yeah.
it more, and I'm like, realistically, if Dylan asked me to play, like this was so fun that I would be there. Like I absolutely would be there. Like who am I kidding? Like of course I would come back. Yes, I
Mhm.
have played a bunch of survivor, not a bunch, like 4 or 5 survivor games since then. So
Oh, that's
definitely
awesome.
a good hobby of mine. So
Very cool. Well, I'm glad to hear it, Tony, because yeah, like you said, I would love to see if you can pull off the win. But like, hey, if like next time you play one of these games, they're like, oh shoot, that's Tony from Millennium Park, like he's a big threat. Like, you know what? You'll always be Tony who got all the way to the end, like the underdog, the Rob Sesternino, the Suri, the Malcolm, like the guy who made it just that close. And like I think that's what any good Survivor season needs.
yeah, I mean, if I come back, I get voted out because I don't know, for whatever reason. I can just, even if it's not true, I can pretend it's a compliment because they think I'm really good or something. But
Exactly. There we go. John Michael Manzi wants to know, Tony, how does it feel to know the entire country was rooting for you?
the entire country, all 285 subscribers. You got you guys kept like you were telling me that after the game, like, oh, production was rooting for you and like all this stuff. And I'm like, I feel like they're probably telling everyone that, like, just to make you feel better when you get voted out. Like, I don't know if that's actually true. Like, I definitely was, and Andrew was like, remember messaging Andrew at one point after the game. He's like, I can't wait to see like your Golden Boy edit. I'm like, Golden Boy edit? Like, oh my gosh, like there's no way like I'm gonna be like the fan favorite. But I mean, if John Michael Manzi says it, then maybe it's true. So definitely felt good. Like I had a lot of like friends and family and like watch the game, which was great. Like I'd make them all live text me during the episodes when they watch them and stuff. So shout out to everyone who's rooting for me. You know, all the fans out there. Yeah, especially everyone who live texted me. It was that was the most fun part, or one of the most fun parts. Playing was probably more fun, but
even the people who are ragging on your challenge skills.
Yeah, because they came around. They came around.
But good.
Yeah.
I got one last question for you from another Instagram user. DCP.org runs an online Survivor game, says, great game, Tony. What would you change about your game next time you play in order to get the win? So you talked a little bit at the start of the interview about like what you changed from Northeastern. Do you feel like you're taking any lessons forward, or is this kind of like you were 2 coin flips away from winning? Just do this again. Like, what are you thinking for next time?
I think there's definitely spots where I could have done better. You know, there's always, you can't just blame, like you can say, oh man, like I should have won. I got like I really hate when people say like, oh, I got robbed. Like I always think the winner is the person who deserved to win. So if I didn't win, that means I didn't deserve to win. That's my like personal take on Survivor. So I don't think I got robbed or anything. Like I think that's like, you always put yourself, and you can play great, but sometimes you just put yourself in situations. I think like, and this goes beyond just Emma. I think like my reads on people, like I would have the initial read and I wasn't willing enough to change what that initial read was. I think for Emma that was true, and I think also for Kim and Andrew that was true. I just was like assuming they were going to link up at the merge and work together, and they never really did. And I think that kind of had thrown me off a little bit and had me assuming other people were thinking that too, and maybe they weren't so much, and like not being able to like get off that train of thought. And also looking back, like, and this is kind of a stupid one, but I was trying to think, like, if all these hard people are doing these X interviews and they're like, there's no way I'd ever vote for a Tortuga, no matter what they did, if you win 4 challenges in a row, if you do all this stuff, so like, then how do I win the game? And maybe the answer is I win the cornhole challenge for my tribe. And if I win that challenge, we go up in the merge 5-4, and then all of a sudden I have a chance to win. So that might be, or the stupid flags. Oh, like maybe that was like my worst play was like, we came down the merge down in numbers, and maybe I had no chance to win after that, but I could have done better in the early challenges. Maybe that was the reason. Because I remember seeing the letters on the flags at that first at that blindfold challenge, and I immediately knew what the word was. So
it wasn't a hard puzzle.
Yeah, it wasn't. I'm not very smart or anything, but like I saw IMMU, like I was like, oh, it has to be immunity, 8 letters.
Right.
And so I'm like running back with the flags and like, it's immunity to Sarah, trying to like get it quick. But like, if I'd been a little quicker and like the which way is my right stuff, like maybe we win that challenge, we go up, maybe John Tong gets booted, we go in the merge with Woo, who I felt good about, and then all of a sudden, like, I win those challenges at the end anyway, and I have this close bonds, and maybe the people on the jury in that last challenge are people I know a little bit better, and they're not Haras, and they're more Tortugas on there, and maybe that helps me. I don't know. So, yeah, but that was kind of a long-winded answer. But I think like just a little bit better reads. I think like, I don't know how I would have convinced Kim that I didn't vote for her. But if I had been able to convince her of that, like maybe bring it up, like, yo, I stood next to you in the last challenge, like I knew how to spell your name, would have been smart as well. But yeah, I mean, also, and then maybe taking a little bit more time to like, I was so busy trying to save my butt come merge that I didn't learn that Gene was a baton twirler, or that what was it was Zach or Andrew did improv, whatever the wrong one.
Oh, Andrew did improv, yeah.
Yeah, maybe if I had learned that Zach had or Andrew had done improv, spent more time connecting with Andrew instead of running around talking to Justin and Zach, maybe I would have won the last challenge. But I don't think there's any huge I don't have huge regrets. Like there's obviously like always things you can like tighten up. I like that Frank Sinatra song where he says, "Regrets, I have a few, but then again, too few to mention." Like if you're not playing hard, you won't have any regrets. But you should always have a few. But there's no big things like, oh man, like again, Final Five, I could have voted with Emma, Justin, or Kim to get out. Like that would have been cool. But like I don't think it was stupid of me not to do. So it's tough to be like I should have done differently. But if I'd done that, maybe I win. So I don't know, but. A few things to tighten up, but I think like in general, I'm proud of the game I played and happy with how it went.
I'm glad to hear, Tony. I think you should be very proud of the game you played. I think you played a hell of a game. I think you left it all out in the park. And honestly, like besides the win, like, you know, there's not much else you can ask for, I think. But that does bring us to the end of the questions. Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about from your experience, or anything that we haven't touched on yet?
I'm trying to think. I feel like I'll probably get off the Zoom call and be like, man, I should have brought up like those 4 things. But I was as obnoxious as possible going about rants about the stuff I did most of the day. I'll run it through. I think I pretty much covered it, but I feel like you always got to leave one more thing when you get asked that question. So, also, I guess another, like, it would have been way different if we had actually strategized on day one. Like day one, I felt like I didn't do anything. And if I don't know how that would have changed stuff, but it could have, if we had been flipped camps with Hara, that would have been maybe a different game. But here's the dumb thing was, if I had looked for the stupid idol when me and Andrew got left at camp and like the literal perfect time with my number one ally, instead of being dumb about it and not going to look, maybe here's what we probably do. If we hold on to it till 6, we play it at final 6 and me and him are both safe, and then he's not out at 6. So I don't know. A lot of what I think that, having the idol would have been huge. Like that would have, and especially going into merge, would have changed, like given us a hope at least. But
you know, when it was you two at the camp, I told whichever camera person was there, it's like, oh, like make sure you film like when they find the idol, because they're gonna find, if it's just the two of them, of course they're gonna find it. Like it's in this big stump. But you know, it wasn't meant to be. But Tony, thank you so much for taking the time to talk. This was fantastic to get your take on everything. And I know that the fans are gonna be really excited to get to listen to this. And hey, maybe we'll see you for Survivor Millennium Park All-Stars.
Yeah, hopefully. Hey, shout out. The whole country was rooting for me, apparently. Thank you to all the fans. And my parents will be proud of this again. Thank you, Dylan and the production team, for setting this all up. This was really cool. Like, getting to watch all the episodes was just like, my season of Survivor Northeastern is like supposed to be edited on YouTube, but it's way behind. We're way behind. So they're all jealous of me that I have this season up. So I appreciate it. Dylan, one-man editing crew. So
that's absolutely.
CBS, hire this man if you're watching.
Jeff Probst, I'm coming for you. I'm gonna take your job.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks so much, Tony.
Thanks, Dylan.